But Acho, how concerned should the Lakers, your Lakers, be right now?
Big dog, they should be incredibly concerned. As concerned as Paul Pierce when he woke up on Sunday and realized his Instagram Live was not to close friends, but actually to the world.
Oh.
Like, that level of concern is where the Lakers should be at. So, how do you sign Andre Drummond, who's going to give you 15 and 15? He's supposed to come in and at least save the day momentarily. And then my dog go out with a toenail injury. Like, bruh, you too big to go out with a toenail injury. Now, anybody that's ever had any sort of nail injury, you understand just how painful that is. But optically, it's just bad. But in all seriousness, the Lakers, I thought that they would slide. I knew that they would slide. But here is the fear. Hopefully they wouldn't slide so drastically, so exponentially that they would be in fear of having to play in the play-in game. Remember, this season, if you are a 7 seed, 8 seed, 9 seed, or 10 seed, you're playing in the play-in game. The Lakers, before LeBron got hurt, they were hovering around a 2 seed, a 3 seed. They was going to be all right. Right now, they are only 3 games above the 7th place Dallas Mavericks. Dallas Mavericks 10.5 games back, Lakers 7.5 games back. All that's going to take now is 3 games. Then the Lakers going to look up, and they might find themselves in a play-in game against the Warriors. Might find themselves in a play-in game against the Spurs. And all of a sudden, now you're fighting just to make the playoffs. You have to play 2 Game 7 caliber games just to get into the dance. That's where the worry falls for me. But bigger picture, I remember as soon as AD got hurt, I was walking some Lakers post-game shows with some Lakers greats, Derek Fisher, Robert Horry, and they said something very profound. They said the biggest issue the Lakers are going to come into right now is understanding your roles and adjusting your roles. Kuzma, Keith Morris, Montrezl Harrell, their shots have increased by 50% since LeBron been out. So all of a sudden, they go from shooting 8 times a game to 12 times a game, 10 times a game to 15 times a game. Well, what's going to happen when these dudes come back? Now they have to figure out how to play their roles, This whole season for the Lakers has been turbulent. It's been turbulent on the court, but more importantly for the role players, they don't even know how to play their roles because they don't know what their roles are. I'm worried about the Lakers because I think they will continue to slide and they'll be fighting for their lives in a couple months here.
Acho, did you say they should be really concerned or really, really concerned?
Either.
Really, really, really concerned. They should be. And it's not so much, let's put aside what Frank Vogel said about the health status of AD and LeBron, because Frank Vogel is possibly the nicest, most positive person that I have ever met in all of sports. They miscast Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. That should have been Frank. He would have killed that role. So take that aside, because he's going to be positive about where they are, no matter how negative the situation may be. But to compound the issue that you brought up, Acho, it's not just that the Lakers are sinking, it's that the rest of the West is surging. Full screen, please, so that I can demonstrate exactly the difference. There's one team that is headed south, and everybody else is headed in the other direction. These are the playoff teams in question right now. So that is the issue, is that the Lakers are destined for a play-in game, and to have their entire season depend on one game, potentially, when we don't even know when LeBron and AD are going to get back. And I know they fought through this. They came from the layoff last year, and I was the one who brought up the conspiracy theory that they're just trying to recreate last year. But the difference is everybody was starting from 0 last year. The Lakers are going to be in catch-up mode, and if they are in that 7th, 8th, 9th might be a little too much of a stretch because Memphis isn't that good. But if they're in that position, and then they have to make a decision coming in at that point with LeBron and AD coming back, do we put the pedal to the metal and try to move back up? Or do we just try to hold things together and win that one game? That's why they should be really concerned. I'm confident AD and LeBron are going to be back, but it's the task that they're going to face when they get back that should concern them.
Oh, I'm not confident that they're going to come back and have the impact that everyone thinks. Let's talk about how LeBron's never been in this situation before. This will be uncharted territory, uncharted waters, because if you look at it, LeBron's never been lower than a 4 seed. So now you're going to have him, what, 7, 8? Did I hear even a 9 potentially out there? LeBron's never been in that situation, uncharted waters. So now you look at it where AD is going to come back and LeBron, and AD is supposed to come back before LeBron. Is AD really coming back? And if AD comes back, what is his mindset in terms of really approaching mashing the gas in a situation? They're trying to climb back up in the standings, potentially to get in the top 4 seeds, to potentially get a home court series. How hard will AD try in that situation without LeBron, but he's back with tendinosis in his Achilles? I remind people, the day that injury occurred, everyone was saying, you over here just laughing at our pain as Laker fans. You're over here talking about the grave condition that AD is in. When you have tendinosis in your Achilles, every step you take and every move you make, I ain't gonna sing it, basically is a thought. It's not even an action anymore. It's not a reaction. It's not an impulse. It is a thought, a cognitive process of, did my leg land properly? And that's where AD is going to come back to in terms of mindset. And then how are you going to make all these pieces of the puzzle fit together, to Acho's point? And how can you do that with the urgency necessary to climb back up in these standings? The new sunken place is being a 7th or lower seed. And that's where the Lakers are going to find themselves right now. Remind you guys, since LeBron's injury, 29th in points per game, 29th in offensive efficiency, 28th in field goal percentage, 29th in turnovers per game. There's only 30 teams in the NBA, y'all. It's not the NFL in the 32. There's only one team basically worse than the Lakers since LeBron James has been injured. LeBron doesn't know when he's coming back, and when AD comes back, he doesn't know when he's going to be AD again. This is all adding up to be bad for the Lakers.
Yeah, I have been one on record saying that I'm not worried about the seeding. I'm not worried if they don't have home court advantage, because right now with not having full attendance in the building, I don't know exactly what home court means or the value of it overall. But there are times where a team just feels cursed. Things just seem to go wrong, one thing after another, seemingly beyond their control. And it's one thing for AD to get hurt because that's his career. He's been dinged up. LeBron getting hurt, now that was a red flag going up because he's never had this serious of an injury in his career. Even with the groin injury, that was decided we're not playing for anything. There's no reason for me to come back. And then you add Andre Drummond to the mix, where he was supposed to, as Acho pointed out, he was supposed to carry the water. He was supposed to make sure that they didn't spiral down the standings. And then you look at Marc Gasol not being what you hoped he would be. Wes Matthews being out as well. It's one of those situations where we're so used to saying, the Lakers will figure it out. LeBron will figure it out. We said the same thing about the San Antonio Spurs year after year. And quietly, they went away. Yeah, their regular seasons were more formidable. Everybody say, see, you put a fork in the Spurs and they didn't get it done again. Or they're going to get it done again. And then ultimately we got to the end and that age, those injuries, that crept up. They weren't there at the finish. I just can't help but wonder if that's where the Lakers are, that this optimism that LeBron's going to be there at the end is just unrealistic at this point, that this is finally the Lakers' luck ultimately running out.
Yeah, you got Drummond out with toenail damage, pedicure, manicure, ain't no cure. I don't know what's wrong with my dog. 14 of their next 22 games are against teams above 500, where the Lakers have been struggling all year with AD or with LeBron. Tough sledding ahead for these Lakers.